just kick things off and give us your opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Anita. Let me start by making an introduction. From the high table, we've got the Honorable Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, Mrs. Claudiana Cole. She is going to be the chief launcher. So she launched the book. And then on my right, we have Mrs. Anne Teres Ndong-Jata, who also was one time the Minister of Basic and Secondary Education and later worked for UNESCO. She's retired. She's going to review the book. Then on my right, you have Anna Butler. Is that right? Anna is from Fayen. Fayen are the publishers of the book. Then on my left again here is Mrs. Lucy Faye-Jane, who is the mom of Anna. And I guess, what role do you play in Fayen? Overseer or whatever, general overseer. And last but not the least, we've got Momar Mastal. Momar today will deliver a lecture on empowerment. Before Momar came in, as we were going up the steps, I started complaining that this was gender unbalanced. I was the only guy and I had 4 ladies next to me, but glad that you came up to dilute it a bit. Ladies and gentlemen, what do I call you? Infants? Because you are too young even to be called children. Honorable Minister, members of the high table, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a great honor that I stand in front of you to deliver a very short remark. Today is not my day. Yes, the book says Taft the Builder, but I think what I owe you is just to compliment and thank all those who contributed to this book. I have always been asked to write. It has spanned over decades. People that I've met came up to me and said, look, you need to write a book. Where's my partner in crime? You know, Salil Tal is somebody that I distress when I want to do something. I distress. I call him in Sal, XYZ, da, 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 da. And then after we discuss, say, Oga, you have to write a book because this is a book. This is a whole chapter. What we will discuss, and so and so and so on. So, but I just thought that when the right time comes, it will happen. So it happened that Fayen approached me. So it's their idea, it's not mine. Because that's what they do for a living. So they approached me and said, Uncle Taff, we have an idea. And we would like to write a book rather than just call it, I mean, all we see is Bob the Builder. And Bob is not Gambian. And it is high time that we write about our heroes. And you are one of them. Thank you. So they came up with the idea. I just told a story. I told a simple story. And then...
Uncle Taff.
Who's that?
Uncle Taff.
What's your problem? Let
me Rose.
I'm situation. I'm stop. You help. Uncle Taff. Uncle Taff, please. The people that you remind book be when you understand. Fear stop when you come Shikuja. You for to go Yahamu T.O.
You been in school for Nekon?
They tell me my Usha Pumaho Koshmama.
Hey, what's it? How you bury? Huh? So I'm going to find him.
Fear, I'm the one come Shikuja T.O. Biahamu T.O.
T.O.
Yes.
Okay, Lini Wahmoy. Okay. Come sit closer to me. Let me tell you about the first time.
Wash.
Okay. So the
T.O. Yangi Maruslo Sikana be helbi. Yamunulori, Nungilari, the Pihadintin Banjul Buffy, Pungaris, Mamirus. Yangi Babugace Gache. Mustafa Janagadef. Saligere Fetsna. man damay constant pour wax ne Moustapha Ndiaye am naa ko depuis Banjul lu yow
Mami Dof
defal nii doo def nii Moustapha Ndiaye yaa ngi si campagne yi di toog rek ku romba nga wuli doo liggéey nga liggéey mun a am baat si réew mi da nga bëgg a pone si Mami Rose moom tane la mu ngi try yow nag loo nekk di def si jikka nga wax yooyu
asalaamaaleykum Oncle Taf man na foog naa ne ñu ñoo toroxal si jëkkër man kese maa si des Mami
ñaa
lii yëpp yaa ma si dugal
how comes
yaa ngi maa xas man te pare bug bii nii soo ko riidee xam naa ne moom su ma jàng soriwul waaye dégg naa si candle wax te candle wax Oncle Taf su ma fenut mooy ay mbiri sondeel man nag yéeg na man tane na man sa raw naa bës boobu leen ma xeeb
candle wax nekk powder nga ñëyaan how comes and joma buj bi ku bu ñab bug bi so understand yaa ñaaw yow nekk ci SPA
Mami jaarani
salo su ko laale ma jiital sa tànka ma ñàkk suma yaa ngi bëgg a dóoraale yow barki démba fii laa la wax nit ñi ñu ngi jël Moustapha Ndiaye def ko rôle modèle si dëkk bi fii nga ni ko suma jikka war ma tareel si dëkk bi nga dem si suma brother di ko ne joma 20,000 yow amuloo tànka ni Moustapha Ndiaye amuloo loxo ni Moustapha Ndiaye lan du ma la sutura lii xew la dama woyaan ñii ñu ngi ma déglu pour ñu mën a may xaalis oyi ma li ma la wax mooy woyaanu ma de maa ngi laa yow woyaan maa ngi de woyaanu ma su ma woyee mu ne liggéey amul si dëkk bi Taf City xam nga ñaata Gambien la Moustapha Ndiaye employ waaw xam nga ñaata furi na ñoo jógee si yeneen dëkk yi te Moustapha Ndiaye taawee ma waaye man foofu dama dee yoo ci Fiyawa te Fiyawa yu jógee am passport I work with Fiyawas that have passport
li may xas ni bugga naa si am jom ma ñëw seet noo ma mun a jël ba ma liggéey
Bana jërëjëf jërëjëf thank you so much let's give them a round of applause
suma bàyyi sa ice cream bi sa boxo bi bàyyi ma Anita okay
totally distracted this is part of it but anyway I mean I'm actually I'll try to regain where I stopped. Good intervention. But as I was saying, that's how the book came about. I was approached by Fayen, and who offered to write this book. And I thought it was timely. They wanted to write this book to start from 0 to 9. But basically, using it to inspire these young ones. That as Africans, we need to find African role models, and then we need to dream. Don't allow anybody to stop you. Dream and dream big and live your dream. So if you start dreaming and having a vision at your age, by the time you even get to my age, then you will make it in life. I think in short, it's not my day today. We have a book reviewer here who's going to review the book, and she will tell you all the details. And we'll have the honorable speaker who would launch it. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Where is our MC? Or does she want me to take over her job?
MC got overwhelmed by the TikTokers.
Okay.
They always bully marketing. Okay, so we'll have our next speaker. I'm just here to pass the mic. Oh, there you go. So, without further ado, can we have you please, Anna Njai from Fayen.
Stand up?
Yes, please, if you can. Or you can sit down if you want.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to be here. My name is Anna Mwaza Butner Fai. I'm putting the Fai at the end because the Butner daf ma dee riiral duñ dee xam ne Gambian la. But when I put the Phi, then they're able to trace me back to Lancaster 81, which is where my father comes from. So as a Gambian, it is my honor to be able to have Uncle Taf be the first person that we reached out to when we came up with the concept of Dream Big African Child series. Fire Network, which was founded by myself, my beautiful mom, Lucy Phi, and 2 other sisters. We started the journey of Fayen about 15 years ago. So you see me here standing in front of you with Uncle Toph writing his book, Toph the Builder, being able to pitch that to him. That was not an overnight success story. It took time. The first time that we came up with the idea for Fayen was when I was pregnant with my daughter, and I was living in America. So I went to Barnes & Noble's to look for a princess book, an African princess book to be specific, because I was having a baby girl. And to my surprise, there were no African princess books. So I went back home. When you're pregnant, you're very hormonal. I was crying. I can't believe they don't have African princess books. This is ridiculous. So I went to my mom with my sisters, and I'm the first to have a baby in my family, so we were all excited. And my mom said, why don't you write the book? And we thought, why not? So we did, and that was the Princess Halima book. We started going around to schools in the United States, elementary schools, and we would read. And we saw that there was a need for it. The white people wanted to know more about African authentic stories. The African diaspora wanted to see themselves reflected in books, and the African Americans were interested in the story of an authentic African person, right? So we had the market. So we decided to write Samba and Batch. This is a story about 2 young boys who are just having normal experiences as children, just like Caillou. For those of you that live in the US or from the American diaspora, you're very familiar with Caillou. Then we decided to write Bakari on Safari. Now, my mom is from Tanzania, so on my Tanzanian East African side, we say Bakari. On my Gambian side, we say Bakari. So Bakari on Safari was born. So those were the 3 series that we had. So we decided we have to start writing books about our living legends. And when we came up with that idea, we thought, who better to start with than Uncle Toph? So we decided to raise the bar high and start with the best. And Uncle Toph is a big thinker. When you think big, you do big things. When you think small, you do small things. So we wanted to start with someone who was going to take the idea and run with it. And surely we weren't surprised when he bought into it. We asked to hear his story. We wrote the book. We published the book, all just going by what he told us. We had several sessions. His daughters were there. His favorite sister, Antindai, was there. And we were able to share some pictures of his childhood. And one running theme that you will see throughout the book is number 1, creativity. You're also going to see hard work and dedication. And lastly, again, the idea of always dreaming big. When you dream big, you will have a big life. So I'm honored to be here today, and I'm looking forward to see what our reviewer is gonna have to say about our book. And thank you all for having me.
Thank you very much. That was great. Can we have you as well, please? So I'll pass you the mic. Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Happy Friday. Again, my name is Lucy Faijan. I'm from Tanzania, but Gambia is my home. I've been living here, I'll say, for over, 40 years? So I'm Gambian. My message is very simple. It's just that we need to support our children. As Anna explained, that when she came and said, there are no stories about African princesses, and I said, write your own book. So obviously, I was their first fun. We sat down, wrote this book. We said, okay, who will write? Jay, because I have 4 daughters. So we sat on the bed and we started writing this book, and we criticized each other and making fun of each other. And the interesting thing is that the first story, we even, they put their brothers in there, changed names here and there, so just to make fun of everybody. So that was the beginning. And obviously, I took upon myself to invest in them, and I was their first investor and the first person to believe in them. So my advice to parents, encourage your children to think big, as Anna has said. and TAF is doing, think big and support the children. Give them the space to think and create, and you just observe, know their talents, and nurture them towards those talents. And as you will see when the book is being reviewed, you could see that this is, for TAF's life, it is passed over to generations and generations and generations. And that's the beauty of writing and the beauty of dreaming big, the beauty of passing over to the next generation. So believe in your kids, give them space, increase readership, because we looked at the statistics in the Gambia of readership skills. They're still taunting. I'm not saying anything to discourage the minister, but it's something that we need to encourage, and parents has a role to play in that. So I want to encourage parents to be reading books to the kids, not only to watch TV. We have now been approached by many firms for animation, but we think reading, holding a book, there's something special about holding a book, flipping the pages, and hearing yourself reading, and eventually the kids themselves, they will read to you. There is fun in that, and I think that is what we are also looking for. So with that said, I would like to everybody to have a copy with you when you go, so that you can actually read the book and enjoy it. We'll produce many more. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was lovely. We will now have the book review. Yes? So this will be given by Mrs. Anne Teresa Longtata. Thank you very much. I've needed some help today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, members of the high table here, ladies and gentlemen, and children. I personally want to thank you, TAF, because this is a great honor. Maybe it's one of my first outings since I came back. And it is a moment to really look at somebody I've always admired, a contempt, but in my view, an icon. And for him to have taken this bold step is already doing what he's been doing very well, setting the pace. And when I got down to reading it in the soft copy version, you know, it amplified a lot of things. Probably when you wrote, or when you thought about it, you are only looking at a dream that is shared and a conversation between a grandfather and grandparents. But when I look at it with another lens, I see a whole lot of issues that have really been brought forward. I started sharing with TAF. But before I proceed, probably I should also appreciate what you have done. And it took me back to the kind of things that we used to do, and I wish I had known you, because we had also worked on a children's series, but we had not sourced an African. And probably this would really help me to share a little bit more about your network. But to go to the book, this is a very simple conversation between a grandfather and grandchildren. However, it establishes one thing that is very much forgotten in our society today: storytelling. And storytelling back then was so very much important in passing on quite a number of things. Knowledge as we know it, but it also helped to pass on values. It also helps to build an ambition. But when I look at it closely, I also saw something which was building on the cultural norms. There are a whole range of issues that's depicted in this book. You just have to find a time. And as you read it, and read it with your children, you may begin to see how you are really complementing the education system. Because when I started looking at it, I said, wow. The first thing is the fact that here was this man who was really going back in time, looking at how it used to be done, oral tradition, and adding the bit on the written aspect. Because much as we know of storytelling in the past, it used to just be, by word of mouth, and that's it. And now that it's written, it means we can always use it as reference. So first and foremost, I see it as a reference. But I also see it as a way of really encouraging others to do the same. We do not tell stories. And storytelling helps to build a society we are mourning about. Or we do not have young people that are this, we do not have young people that are that, but what type of role model are you? The other thing I see about it also is about the way that a grandfather is really working gradually to pass on something that should be lived on in the grandchildren. How often are we able to do that? Having that patience. It was not a monologue. It was not a monologue, and that was beautiful. There were moments where you ask questions, and that was what really brought that inspiration. You were inspiring them, and they were able to ask questions. So from the cultural bit, the first thing that you would notice is that, back then, you had children helping their mothers. And in this case, it was really proudly demonstrated, and even trying to show how useful it is to be an entrepreneur, and that the mother had been really a very successful one. How much time do we give to really appreciating our parents? Culturally, this was done. And the little ones did not miss it. They asked questions relevant to, how about my mom? Do you get it? So for me, I saw this as a very important aspect of the book, even before you look at Taft the Builder. The building part of it came in. And then it was the support system. What we used to have in African society is the social capital, which is really more and more dying, because we have really been kind of infused with ideas of individualism, competitiveness. And this is one that was really well brought out, looking at the family unit, which is where we are going wrong. And therefore, this book, as I review it, showed that family is very important, because it was clear that they were asking questions, very relevant questions. Did you get help? And yes. And it is not by accident you have so many ladies. You've always lived with ladies. And that is really depicted in this book. That really, I had my mom, I also had my sisters. You see, that cultural bit and the position of the family is very important. It also depicts something that probably you didn't pick out. I said maybe it's by accident. It also showed that matriarchy was really what we had in our society. The men were there, all right. They had their roles, all right. But it was the women who were there quietly giving the support. And it was depicted how the mother was able to really complement and supplement. It's in the book. So you were not even just writing about Taft the Builder. You were really going down a historical kind of analysis of how you grew up in your family setting, and how your mother played a very supportive role. Today, when our women help their husbands, it's out in the street. You are really shouting and telling everybody that you are doing this, you are doing the other. But here, it was so beautifully put that the mother complimented, and it's from that mother that Taft got this idea of entrepreneurship. The book tells you that Taft already had decided that I would really like to do things for myself. You can build a better economy not by depending on what the government would provide, but what you can provide for yourself and family. And that started very early. When the idea of building came up, it was not just about wanting to be a builder. It was about trying to solve a problem. I also read that in the book. It was our problem solving. The first thing that was created was to solve a problem. So the idea of really just imitating is not enough. You must have a reason. So there was purpose right from the very beginning. And it also tells us, interestingly, I may not say it, I should say it, is the fact that, NAWEC or whatever it used to be had always been a problem. because that was how you were prompted to do your first project. And it was successful. And the kids, again, were able to interrogate further to really know what else, what other projects have you? And this is the beautiful part of it. When we engage our young people, you are broadening their horizons. You are helping them to understand that really, life is something that we must question, we must interrogate, and we must really find answers for. And so the story continues. But for me, the one bit that takes me back to my own educational background is how our system has really been destroyed. Honorable Minister, back then when you say you studied woodwork in primary school, how many primary schools would give any of our young people that opportunity to want to build anything? No, it's mass production. You go in, zoom out, and you have one poor teacher trying to really attend to 60 people. Very little of the crafts and all those additional bits are there. So I think the message also was clear. Maybe you were not writing for the education system, but you clearly show that our education system must have, skills at a very early age with the young people so that they can really grow and they can really begin to dream dreams. So that was very clear. And still with the educational bit, I was able to read into all of this, the 4 pillars of education. Now, when you do education, you are not only taking them through a kind of knowledge train. They must have knowledge, all right, so they learn to know. But they also learn to be. And that is the dream you shared with them. And you could see little Tafa or Usenu was already beginning to dream. So they are already learning to become. Oh, if my grandfather has done this and has been successful, then I can also begin to think of it. So the second pillar is learning to be. But then it was very clear that you did not miss the point that they must really be studious. They must be studious. They must pay attention in school. And you emphasize the point that they must really pay attention, they must listen, and then they will succeed. So in learning to know and to learning to be, you must already be studious. And he was able to show in a very simple way that he was a studious student. And then come this big question of, what do I do after school? That too came. Most of the time we rush for this dream world, this El Dorado, or whatever they call it, and you never make it. You go there, intelligent as you may be, you end up doing all the drudgery and stuff just to eke a living. But here was this gentleman. He persevered, and he dreamt dreams that really got him to think of something else. He started in his own country. It showed that if you stay, how do they call it? I got some jargon that was like techie fee or something like that. So, something like that, mungena techie thing and neka, techie fee or something like that. But it was there. So we move on to the third pillar, which is learning to do. And there was where we saw how, when we buy these our bricks and stuff, you start from something that you know, you can feel, and it showed that you can do it with leisure, you can do it in school. They had time to go to the beach. But again, the interest of really making sure that you do the things that would help you to move to the next level was there. While they were doing the other things, he was able to show that you can use the pail, you can use the wheelbarrow. And these were some of the things that you needed. And it also really reflected that to have skills, you must have your toolbox. And the poor lady, sorry? It's just that I'm not using it because I know that I have a voice that carries, and sometimes, it can be too loud. And so what was happening here was, again, with the support of the family, he would even go to bed with the toolbox. So it's all here that when you have a passion for something and you set your mind on something, you will succeed. Okay? The mom did not really shout and yell, but would quietly come and take the toolbox away when it was time to sleep. Learning to do. Learning to do means that you have to really believe in it and then walk towards it. And again, this was depicted by really even going to bed. It's all in this book. And then the last bit, which is learning to live together. And that's what we do not have today. Learning to live together because of competitiveness, because of individualism, because of value systems that seem to always focus on me, I, and mine. We tend not to really see the other. And you could see that from very tender age. In this book we are told, and it was relayed, and the grandchildren were able to pick it up, that yes, there was that religion, going to the Dara, being proud, and learning certain values that were later linked and relates to what he does so very well. You wouldn't say he's a selfish man. He is a man whose resources, yes, would serve family, but would also serve others. So with these, as I went through it, I could see these 4 pillars of education. And therefore, I believe that anybody that takes time to look at it would see a whole lot more. Apart from the iconic person that he is, telling you where it all began, he was able to show you the steps that he went through to the point where his dream matured from really creating this candle stand, to actually getting to the point of dreaming about building a house and then building a city and being the best in the country, and I must dare say, being the best in Africa. And with that, I want to say, a story couldn't have been better told. And I could stay on and on because I'm a teacher, but I realize I have a time limit to what I have to say. But from where I come from, in UNESCO, when we look at what builds a peaceful society, you must have education, all right. You must have science and technology. And this is all coming out in this. You must have culture, because a people without a culture is really a lost generation. You must also understand that whatever it is, the human understanding of art is not only, it only remain with itself. You must be tolerant, open, and whatever you have, you must share. And so I want to congratulate you again, and I want to thank these children, very intelligent, who asked the right questions, and who were able to learn a lot from you. Because when you ask about the mother, who is your mother, it was a funny question, but we are already teaching them that in the genealogy, names carry on. Just like your mom was named after my mom, and you were named after me, would inspire them to make sure that when they are looking for names, they go beyond just looking at friends out there, but keeping the genealogy. So on this note, again, I want to thank you. I want to thank the FINET. I want to thank you all, and Honorable Minister. I believe this book, as I am taking my seat, is relevant for the educationalists, it's relevant for the early childhood, starting early, it's relevant for the youth, and it's relevant for parents. It's relevant for the population. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And now, without further ado, we'll have Honorable Madam Claudiana Cole. Today has been a funny day for my pronunciation, but thank you very much.
She's my mentor. She's somebody I've always looked up to. In fact, I wouldn't be embarrassed, neither would I hide it, to say she's one of the people who groomed me in the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education to get to this point at which I am today. She was also my senior at high school. So you see, we've had a long-standing relationship. And I always feel that wherever she is around me,
I find it very difficult to match up to her because she's my mentor. Okay? Other members sitting here, and all the distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the distinguished personalities here gathered this evening, and to my little ones out here. Hello. Hi. It's good to see all of you, and it is good to see these little ones out here for whom this book actually targets. They are the target group, I suppose, the initial target group, because we're told that the book is for age 0 to 9. But like the reviewer actually said, Madam Anthores Dangjata, it starts with them, but it doesn't end with them. It continues. It continues to the youth. It continues to the parents. And it continues right to everybody in this nation and beyond. To have a great icon here like Ms. Njai, most of us, or some of us, may know from which beginnings he started, right to the point where he's not only a household name, he's not only a country name, but he's also a continental name. I guess you all know what I'm talking about. I was in Accra some time ago in Ghana, and one of his guests he had on QTV, a young Ghanaian entrepreneur, spoke highly of him at the Ghana meeting. And I and others who were there, we were so proud to be associated with Mr. Mustafa Njai, not only because he's an African, but because he's a Gambian. And we were proud of hearing the things that we had said about him at that meeting. When Mr. Njai approached me some weeks back and told me that he had this book to launch, and he wanted me to be part of the launch, I was excited. I was very pleased. And I said to him, it's going to be an inspiration for our young people. And that cannot be denied. It's the very truth. All the little ones, the youths who are going to read this book, should be inspired. And they should be able to look at the person and the story, the person, the character in this book, and be able to say, I want to be like him. We have heard that several times. Young people looking up to some elderly people in society and would say, I want to be like him. As the reviewer was speaking, I remembered when I was in primary school, we did art and craft. And in those days, when you did art and craft, there was what we call plasticine. And we used plasticine to model things. And when I was in primary school as well, we learned to write stories. We had a whole period on writing poems, writing stories, and it helped to broaden our ideas. It helped to bring the creativity out of us. And I want to believe that may be happening in our classrooms still, or otherwise. But these days, I think for a long time we had only concentrated on the academics. And at one point, some 2 decades back, we have forgotten all about creativity in our schooling. And it's only now that we are trying to talk about bringing back TVET. It was there, but at that time we didn't call it TVET. We called it art and craft or creativity. And these days, in our upper basic and senior schools, we call it visual arts. But we are trying to bring back TVET into the school system. And I said to Ms. Njai, I can see a partner in you, and I will want you to partner with us. And in the education system, and we strengthened it. He has promised that he's going to support me in that. And I look forward to that support into the school system. And I said to Ms. Njai, I can see a partner in you, and I will want you to partner with us for higher education. And from that meeting, I came here. So I've had a long day, but it's my pleasure for my day to have been so long. I could not have done anything other than being here this evening to support Ms. Njai, to show my appreciation at what he's been able to come up with the science. It is a good thing. Yes, it's now in a book form, but perhaps it will be good later on to put it in this form. We will be able to use it to capture the attention good for them to be friendly with the visuals. And his grandmother.
there.
Please, I've been so busy. Over this copy to you, the characters in the book. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Minister. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. At this point to give a vote of thanks, and then after that we'll get to the
we owe it. We owe it. Thank you. And I would like to start from the Honorable Minister. Not only did he say we need to stop all that we do on the blame game, blaming each other. We need to put hands together and know that if we survive together. If we fail together. So, Honorable Minister, on that note, I wish to thank you very much, not only as a minister, but as my sister. So thank you very much for coming. I thought you would write to my other sister, Madam Teres Nongjata. You've done justice to the book. We all are going to leave here, from the young ones to the elderly, with knowledge. You have done justice, and I want to say a big thank you too. Now to Fire, what more can I say? I think they're the ones who put the book together, and we're not only looking at Gambia, but we now have outlets in other African countries. It's online, they have their own network, but they also have plans to put it on Amazon. So I went to finally, the little ones, who's found time to be here, and also you, our honorable guest. Thank you so much. We will allow the young ones to leave. As you can see, they've got so much energy to burn, so they cannot keep them here anymore. And Honorable Minister, really, I know you're so busy, so it's your choice. It's either you sit down and listen to this young man. Momar, he is an entrepreneur. Momar was in college, and he left college at final year and chose entrepreneurship. He's going to talk about empowerment. So if you have time, please feel free, sit down. He's going to deliver a 30-minute lecture whilst I go outside with the young ones. And here? Yes, okay. Here is okay. Yeah. So when you go down,
I think it's fine. Thank you.
sale at 2 would go at 6.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everybody. Everybody at TAF Leadership Academy. We'll just wait till the room clears so the noise can reduce. But how's everybody doing? It's great. So I've been tasked by Uncle Taf to try and outdo these wonderful women who gave great speeches and try and tie in the theme of empowerment to the young leaders that are in the room who are part of the TAF Leadership Academy. And while I was sitting here listening to all of them speak, I realized that there are so many themes of empowerment. So I don't know whether TAF did this on purpose, but it seems like my speech is going to tie into exactly what everyone was speaking about. And the idea that I want to put across to the young leaders in the room is about empowering yourself and how you empower people. And before we start, I just want to get a bit of engagement from the TAFLA students. Just take a second to think about empowerment and what it means to you. Just take a second. There are no wrong answers. And if you have an idea, feel free to share it with the room. Empowerment. What do you think of when you hear the term empowerment? Anybody? Okay, I'll have to pick somebody then, at random. Deba, what do you think of when you hear empowerment? Support. Yes, support. May I? Freedom. Great. So empowerment can mean many things. So support, freedom, right? But have you ever wondered what really drives people to do more than what is required of them? Or to do things for the sake of other people? What really motivates people to do things outside of their job, outside of their salaries, right? One of the most fundamental aspects that good leadership drives in people is the willingness to contribute, right? Your willingness to contribute. This means phenomenal work comes when people have the passion and the desire to take initiative. Logically, the cure for powerlessness is empowerment. The cure for powerlessness is empowerment in what it embodies. However, there's a problem because empowerment doesn't exist in a box which everyone can pick at and use however they will. And neither is it scarce. It's not a scarce resource that leaders can hold on to like a precious commodity. In order for you to empower others, one must be willing to lose some power themselves. It's a give and a take. In order for me to empower you, Debak, I must lose some of my own power. So I'm going to discuss empowerment with you in different themes. We're going to discuss the meaning of empowerment. We're going to discuss what it means to be empowered as a person, how you can empower yourself, who is an empowered leader, how they empower people, why empowerment is important, empowerment in business, as you know I'm an entrepreneur, and what it means to me in my business, and how my business empowers people in our community, youth empowerment, and we will conclude. So, the best way I could find to describe what empowerment means. Empowerment is a degree of autonomy and self-determination in people and in communities. This enables you to represent your own interests in a responsible and self-determined way, acting in your own authority. An authority or power given to someone to do something, or the process of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling one's life and claiming one's rights. I believe that everybody who signed up to be in the Tough Leadership Academy was looking for some sort of empowerment, because you want to be a leader. Whether you want to empower yourself or you want to empower your community, you want to empower youth, women, and different themes, right? And one of the major key components to being empowered is self-confidence, which is a theme that we'll explore more. So personal empowerment is about taking control of your life and making positive decisions based on what you want. It's closely linked to attributes like self-esteem and self-confidence, like I said, but true empowerment comes when you convert your intention into actions. So, like, an example of that could be, many of you were looking for an opportunity for leadership training. And you took actionable steps to come and be part of this Tough Leadership Academy, to teach yourself the skills to be great leaders of tomorrow. That is a form of empowerment. You might think you don't have the power to empower yourself, but it starts from within you, taking those actionable steps to reaching the goals that you yourself set for yourself. Empowerment doesn't come from outside, it starts from within. And when you empower people, or you empower yourself, sorry, you empower yourself to empower people who in turn empower you. And that is an important concept that I believe every leader should understand. You lose nothing from giving, you only gain. Everybody you see on this stage has been empowered in some way or another, one form or another. And as you reach your heights in your career, in your life, and you achieve more things, you may or you may not intentionally or unintentionally realize how you impact the lives of other people. But one of your key values should be your impact in your society, in your business, in your family, should leave people or the environment you came from better than what you found it as. And the best way you can do that is to empower the people around you. How do you do that? How do you empower yourself to empower other people? It starts with your attitude. You have to have a positive attitude. You need to develop a positive attitude to everything you do. You need to be able to set your goals, responsible, reasonable goals, right? You should surround yourself with positive people. I like to surround myself with people who motivate me, people who support me, people who critique me in a constructive way. I always try to protect my energy and the energy I let out, because this shapes your environment shapes you. And if you're in a positive environment, you'll have positive results. You need to be assertive. You need to be assertive in what you believe in. You must be self-reliant. You can't empower people when you're reliant on other people. You need independence. You need to be independent. You need to be accountable. You need to take initiative. And most importantly, you need to have drive. So that's empowering yourself as an individual. But what about people who empower others? What is an empowering leader? Which is what we're all thriving to be, or else we wouldn't be here today. What is an empowering leader? Tough is an empowering leader. He empowered me to be on the stage today to speak to you, so that hopefully I can empower you. So empowering leaders share power with their subordinates, giving them decision-making authority. They also express confidence in their employees, in their abilities to perform the jobs autonomously. Now, as a business owner, this has been something that I have struggled with, I will not lie. Having the confidence in my team to work autonomously outside of me. This is natural for everybody. Then I look at business owners that I look up to, like tough, undeniable leaders, and look at their organizations and realize that everybody in their organization is empowered to work autonomously. Everybody's empowered to grow. Everybody's empowered to dream. Everybody's empowered to think. And it reflects in the business. And that comes from decades and decades of experience in leadership from tough. So I've made it a conscious decision within my organization to empower my team. And yes, there'll be bumps on the road. Yes, they'll make mistakes, but that is what empowerment is all about. It's about allowing people to make mistakes and learn, to grow. And the results are direct, they're instant. Your staff, your team are more committed to what you want to do when they feel as though they have buy-in, when they feel as though they can take ownership of what you're trying to achieve. And it goes back to the first thing I said. It goes back to how do you get people to go over and beyond what they are required to do? The key ingredient is being empowered to do so, having ownership, being motivated to do so. So, how did Tough create this environment where everybody feels empowered? What lessons, what takeaways can we take from people like Tough? What am I trying to implement in my organization? One of the key things is building trust. It is necessary that we trust others to complete specific tasks or own certain goals without much oversight. This is a constant thing that I'm battling with and I'm getting better with now. Allowing people to take ownership and trusting them. I know Tough asks for feedback a lot. He said it here. If he has an idea, he calls Sal, asks him his feedback. You need to be able to ask for feedback. You need to know, you need to have a sounding board. Don't be afraid to ask for feedback. Don't be afraid of what that feedback is going to be. It might not be what you want to hear, but it's what you need to hear. So ask for feedback. Offer instruction. Always be accessible to your team and offer them instruction in where they need it. Yes, we're talking about working autonomously, but we must coach the people who work with us. And they must feel as though if they're stuck, they have an opportunity to speak to you or anybody in the organization to get a direction of where they need to go. Show appreciation. Uncle Tough didn't speak much today, but every time he spoke, he was thanking somebody. He was appreciative. He's launching a book on his journey and his story, but he made it very clear that it was a team effort, and he thanked the Fire Network. So you show appreciation. I can guarantee you the Fire Network will go over and beyond for Uncle Tough because he's empowered them. They've empowered him. That's how it works. That is the currency of empowerment. Recognize your limitations. Uncle Tough is a great builder. Sure, he's not a great book writer, right? He recognizes his limitations, right? So you must know what you're good at. You must know what your staff is good at, what they're not good at. Try to get the best out of them and try to get the best for your organization. You must know your limitations. All of these traits are clear in Uncle Tough and other leaders in the room or outside. And my whole purpose of speaking here today is so that you can start recognizing these things in people and in yourself. So you can start emulating them. So when we young leaders can emulate these things that Uncle Tough is doing, might be second nature to him now, but if we're conscious about it, it will lead to a society of leaders that are pulling each other up. Build businesses that create opportunities and empower other people, not just your staff, your supply chain, your customers. Maybe just a little background on my business. We have a business where we produce mangoes, and we create them into mango chips. And for a long time, we were asked, why don't we create a mango brand? We usually sell our mangoes to brands to put them in their own sachets. And we've been asked for a long time, and we tried, but it wasn't really our forte. And it forced us to have a conversation with ourselves about our purpose. Why did we start this business? Of course, everyone starts a business to make money. But one of the main reasons is we want to create opportunities so that if Debach wants to start a mango brand, he doesn't have to build a factory. He can buy the mangoes. That is a form of empowerment. You're reducing the barrier to entry for other people to get in the business and build the value chain. And this exists for every business. I went to Taft City and I saw people, a small business manufacturing bricks. It's the same thing, the same concept. Your business should empower the community around you, not just your staff, suppliers, people within the community. You might not be aware that you're doing this. That's why I'm here to speak to you about it, because we need to intentionally start doing these things, empowering people around us. And it works for your business. So, now we'll talk about why empowerment is important. A quote. Does everybody know who Bill Gates is? Everybody knows who Bill Gates is, right? Okay, does anybody not know who Bill Gates is? You in the back. You don't know. You know? You don't know. Okay, Bill Gates is the founder of Microsoft. Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, and he's credited as being one of the most brilliant people of our generation and one of the richest men in the world. And he was asked, what is the next generation of leaders going to look like? And his answers was quite interesting. He didn't say it were politicians. He didn't say they were businessmen. He said, as we look ahead into the next century, leaders will be those who empower others. Very simple. Why is that? Why did he say that? We've moved away from an age where knowledge, access to capital, these things were centralized. And if you had the knowledge, you could lead masses of people. We live in an age where this is democratized now. Knowledge is democratized. You only have to go in your phone and Google something and you'll get the answers. So you don't have a situation where populations just follow anymore. You have a population where everybody is armed with the same information. Who leads those people? You're leading empowered people. But what people like Bill Gates understand is that the tide is shifting from autocrats to a highly interconnected world where leaders' main job is to empower you and empower the masses. In the next 100 years, we're not going to have demagogue type figures. Have a room full of leaders like we do today. And I think Uncle Taff knows this. This is why all of you are here today. So what else, why is it important? We already talked about people exceeding their expectations. Your expectations of them and theirs. And it also makes people mindful. Now, if I know that my role in my company now is to make sure that I'm empowering all my staff, I'm going to be more mindful about how I act and how I treat my staff and how people perceive me. And if that is replicated throughout your organization, people will be a lot more mindful about how they act. And I've seen this firsthand. So, we know leadership and empowerment, paves the way for future leaders. When you prime others, you're transferring authority and knowledge to them. You're allowing them to share the load, giving them the opportunity to lead themselves. This fosters an environment where people can understand their successes and learn from their failures, an environment of trust. Now, I know just by a show of hands, how many people in this room are venturing into entrepreneurship or would like to venture into entrepreneurship? How many of people in this room want to be business owners one day? So I would say 85% of the room. So being a business owner means by default you have to be a leader. And in Gambia, I find from my experience, motivating your employees and your staff is a major, major hurdle. But the onus is sometimes on us, the entrepreneurs, where we overlook what motivates people. We think the salaries motivate people. We think that the fancy suit and tie motivate people. But we often overlook that giving people that ownership that we talked about earlier is what is going to motivate our staff to go over and beyond for us. Ownership motivates people. Dignity motivates people. And a simple tool as an entrepreneur you can use is your ability to empower your staff to do what you want them to do, and I guarantee you they'll go over and beyond for you. So with that, I would like to end this, actually no, one more theme of empowerment. We all hear about youth empowerment. I cannot come up here and not talk about youth empowerment. But I feel like that conversation is lacking a little bit of context sometimes, and it's become a bit of a buzzword. And since I think I qualify one more year to be a youth, I think next year I'm over the UN mandated youth. So I think I have authority to speak as a youth. So I'll take the opportunity. What does youth empowerment mean? It means including youth in the decision-making process. That's the reality. I believe that we have a lot of youth empowerment programs in the Gambia. We have a lot of youth empowerment initiatives in the Gambia. But how many youth are actually involved in the decision-making process? Are the youth really empowered? Are we? It's a question, I don't know, I just think about it. It means to honor the youth's voice, to understand and implement their honest opinions and ideas. Be willing to share your adult power and privilege in order to make the community a better place for both young people and adults alike. Young people not only represent the future of our country, but young people are one of the society's main agents of progress. You, the youth, have a great effect on economic development and in culture. It is in this stage of your life you will build many social relationships and develop a personality that defines the new generation. I think young people need to be empowered to understand their power, their relevance, and their importance in the country. Apart from all the programs that are availed to you, I believe it's time that young people are involved in the decision-making process, are involved in politics. We do have a few shining stars somewhere in the room today, young people who have taken up that mantle to go into politics, go into government, go into business, and make sure that they are part and parcel the decision-making process in the country. Because the reality is, all decisions made on your behalf affect you in the future, not those making the decisions for you right now. So if we're serious about empowering youth, it cannot happen until youth empower themselves, are in those rooms, and make it mandate that youth are in those rooms when decisions are being made for youth. So to conclude, the reason we're here today is to launch Uncle Tuff's book. And in that book, we can see Uncle Tuff was empowered at a very young age by his mother, his sisters, his community, his teachers. Uncle Tuff grew older, started his career, started empowering his staff, his colleagues, his suppliers, and Tuff had children who further had children, and Tuff started to empower his grandchildren. That's where he is at life today. His life is a book. It's a journey that he has written by himself, and it should be celebrated. What journey, what life, what book do you intend to write in your career? What themes of empowerment are going to be left in that book? We're here today because you will shape the trajectory of this country and the world in the future. We, meaning Tuff, myself, everybody on this panel, only hope that we can equip you with the tools and the confidence to empower you to lead your peers to a better future that you will shape. Nobody else, you. This is a sacred responsibility shared by leaders in all capacities. Just remember, in order to empower others, you must first empower yourself. Thank you. MC, can you empower me to come off the stage, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. Tal. That was such an empowering speech and lecture. Today we're not going to take any questions, and you wait for your transport refund. See you next time. Thank you, and thank you for coming. Thank you.
Everyone, sorry, I was getting cake. So there's loads of cupcakes outside. Loads. Please feel free to have some on the way out.
ndax yaa ngi am gàllankoor pour seetaan Eye Africa TV